Hello, welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I saw you there in the corner.
Called your name in a conversation.
And I'm Gary. And today we're going to review and discuss The Commitments, which came out in 1991 from director Alan Parker. Iain, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story follows Robert Arkins' character Jimmy, who wants to create the first Irish soul band. He gets a few friends together and creates the band The Commitments. But with all the clashing egos, cracks start to appear in the band and we just wait for it to implode.
I have to say now that I'd never heard of The Commitments.
Yeah.
This is the first time I'd ever seen this film, but I was excited knowing who the director was.
Yes.
It's from the same director as Angel Heart, which is just one of the best films I've seen in a long time. Just still, the after effects of that film just kind of linger forever.
Yeah.
Such a powerful performances. But he also directed Evita and Mississippi Burning.
That's an amazing film.
Pink Floyd The Wall.
Yeah.
You know, this man has a real talent for marrying music and film in a documentary-esque style while still being able to bring things to life for you in film form, which otherwise might not really appeal to you.
Yeah.
This is a film set in poverty-stricken Northern Ireland, in a section of Dublin where these characters are, you know, they're on the bones of their ass. You know, they don't have any money, they don't have any job prospects, but they have a hope and a dream. Especially our lead character of Jimmy Rabbit, who is trying to put a soul band together. And the reason why he wants soul is because it seems like the best way for him and his band to express themselves in this poverty, economically stricken part of the world.
I remember watching this film when I was a kid. You know, it came out in 1991, and I think I caught it in 93. We had a van that used to come around our neighbourhood selling videotapes out the back, and my mum would always go up and rent videos for us to watch. And one of them was The Commitments, and I remember it had done big. I suppose, you know, people were listening to the album, people were singing the songs. You know, it brought Ireland filmmakers onto the map, you know, or just the fact that, you know, from this corner of the world, no films really got made. Maybe Rawhead Rex, well, that was in Ireland. But I remember sitting down and watching this film, and like I said, I was so young, I didn't really understand a lot of the themes going on. You know, the poverty theme. You know, these people claiming dole money, you know, and wanting to aspire to do something more, but they're stuck. You know, the sexual themes that go on during the film. I didn't get any of that. What I did get, though, was just a warm feeling when I watched this film that I was like, you know what? That was really good. I enjoyed that.
I think a large part of that can be put straight down to the music.
Yes.
And as you said, when this film came out, it was a fantastic success. You know, no one really anticipated this being as big as it was. And it's all down to the music.
Yeah.
And what I didn't realise with this band is that they were all hired because they could play musical instruments.
Yeah.
These actors weren't hired because of their acting performance or their credentials. It was how well can you play this instrument, audition for this part. If you can do both, you got the role. And so a lot of big actors didn't have a chance because they couldn't play instruments.
Yeah, yeah.
And so a lot of the music that you hear in this film is coming from them.
They call me Mr. Pitiful, baby, that's my name. They call me Mr. Pitiful, that's how I got my fame.
I do think it's funny though, Gary, that I remember a few years ago, maybe our first or second year of doing Off the Shelf, that I mentioned about doing The Commitments, and you struck it off the list, like, no, it doesn't interest me. And I remember arguing with you, like, you have to see this film because, you know, it's one of those niche films that not a lot of people have heard of. I haven't watched it that many times since I was a kid, I'll admit that. I felt like after watching it the first time, I think I've seen it twice, and then this would be the third time. And then watching it the third time, I'm like, this film is still as good as I remember it.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, 26 years now since the film's come out, and it did celebrate it on its 25th anniversary with the Blu-ray release, and the film looks fantastic. You can see just the attention to detail with every camera shot, it's just a well thought out film.
Yeah.
And if I'd ever decided not to review it, then I definitely overlooked this film, because it's quite a little gem.
Oh, like I said, we have Robert Arkins playing Jimmy Rabbit, the manager. We have Andrew Strong playing Deco or Declan. Weirdly enough, I always found his character the one I could relate to most.
It's funny because as I was watching the film, I thought I knew him.
Weird thing was, I knew that when I was a kid. I was seeing this loud, over-the-top person getting up on stage, getting drunk, acting like a pig, and being kind of shunted away by all the women that you're trying to get with. And it was kind of what I was going through when I was a kid as well.
There's a scene in the film where this woman turns to one of the kids and says, "Shut the fuck up, Ginger!"
Aye, Ginger! Shut the fuck up, will ya?
And I was just like, that clip, I'm going to take that clip, and whenever Iain said something that I don't like, I'm just going to push a button and roll that clip.
Hey!
I know it was offensive, but I was like, but it just works. Like, it's...
Aye, Ginger! Shut the fuck up, will ya?
We have Angeline Ball playing Imelda, Maria Doyle playing Natalie, and Bronnie Gallagher playing Bernie. Now, these are the Commitment backup singers. And weirdly enough, I only remembered when I watched it for the review, I forgot how much singing they do for the band. I always just kind of remembered the Commitments being led by Deco and his great vocals. But when I saw the girls get up on stage and they start singing, I'm like, man, they're really, really good. Especially Bernie's character. Weirdly enough, I would only ever see her again in Pulp Fiction, starring alongside Rosanna Arquette. She just has this one little scene at the drug house with Eric Stokes. I just thought that was really good that she could go from doing the Commitments up to a Quentin Tarantino movie.
It's interesting you should say that, because almost none of the actors in this film went on to do very much in the entertainment industry anyway. Because all of these cast were unknowns, and because the film did so well and all the performances are so memorable, you'd have expected them all to have landed film careers.
Well, I mean, I can't see that. I mean, the girls, the backup singers have gone on to do TV shows and things like that in the future. But a lot of the guys, I think they made the film, it got big, they lived off the royalties for a bit, and then we're like, well, what else do we need to do? There was only 2 major people in this film that actually went on to do anything massive. The first one is always one of my favourite actors, Colm Meaney, playing Jimmy Rabbit Sr., Jimmy's dad.
Some trivia here for you was that he would continue to play this role in 2 of the other Roddy Doyle films, the so-called Barrytown trilogy, where he would continue to show the life of the Rabbit family. The other 2 books were The Snapper and The Van, and obviously they were both made into films.
Yeah, I don't think The Van did very well. I remember it came out and it was supposed to be, coming off the back of the creators of the Commitments and stuff like that, but it didn't capture the heart like the Commitments did. I think, like we said, it was the music. But I will always remember him as Chief O'Brien.
Of course.
From Star Trek.
He's everyone's favourite engineer.
That's it. And the fact that he's done some other great films. I mean, I remember seeing him in, I think it's Layer Cake. But one of the other big stars in this is Andrea Corr, playing Jimmy's sister. Now, she would not ever play in another film, but she would go on to massive success with her sisters and her brother in the Corrs.
Well, the Corrs auditioned for roles in the film, but they weren't given the principal roles. But all of the Corrs were cast as extras and background characters, essentially.
Yeah, and then would go on to make multi-million-dollar albums, and tour all over the world. So that's just absolutely brilliant.
Ride, Sally, ride.
Look, don't use your own accents. It's ride, Sally, ride, not ride, Sally, ride.
Ride, Sally, ride.
From the top.
Getting back to the film, we've got Jimmy. He sees his 2 friends playing music at a wedding. Realizes that the guys are in a dead end job. He's pretty much at a dead end as well. You know, he's trying to sell stuff on a market and he can't get away with it. And he wants to put this band together, and convinces them, yeah, you know, we're gonna bring Dublin soul. You know, we're gonna bring music back to the people. So we're just gonna try and get as many people as we can. We've got Deco. He's got a great set of lungs. You two can play guitars. You know, we need to get a drummer, a pianist, backup singers. And then we meet Johnny Murphy playing Joey the Lips. Now, it always makes me laugh because, like I said, I've seen this film a few times. He is pretty much the TNT in this band for fucking blowing them to pieces.
Could you slip away without him knowing you're gone?
Well, it's sad to say that the actor passed away just last year, but he, for me, was one of those intriguing characters that when he turns up in the film,
Yeah.
I'm just like, you were so full of bullshit. Like,
But
it's
is
emanating from you. But he has that twinkle in his eye that just kind of tells you that he's not bullshitting.
Yeah.
That he's actually telling you the truth, but you just can't believe it because it's so fantastical.
See, now, this is, like I said, this is the third time I watched it. Now, is he like an angel-esque character?
In a way, I mean, he proclaims that he's on a mission from God.
Yeah, exactly. He's on a mission from God. You know, he influences everybody's life in the band. He tries to keep them all in line. And then when everything comes to a head towards the end of the film, he's up and gone. So it's like he's an angel. He's come from God to help Jimmy out. And then when it all falls out of place, he's off again to go off and help somebody else. But he's got all these great stories about all the great musicians he's worked with. You know, he's worked with Elvis, Otis Redding, you know, just some of these great names. And you're trying not to believe it. But at the same time, Jimmy is so heart set that Joey is going to be the core of the Commitments. You know, he knows everybody. We're going to use his influences. We need to listen to him. And it's Joey who comes up with the title, The Commitments.
The Commitments.
The Commitments?
Commitments.
It's a thought. How do you spell it? T-H-E.
But at the same time, he's also a bit of a smooth talker and makes his way through each one of the backup singers. Now, I'm not a smart man, but if you're going to sleep with women, you don't sleep with three friends in close proximity with each other who work with each other. That's just a big no-no.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of signs that the band is slowly imploding before it's even really begun.
Yeah.
Even on the first rehearsals together, you can see that the frictions are there, especially between the drummer and the lead singer.
Deco is a dick, though.
He is an absolute dick to everybody. His attitude, his behaviour, his comments just winds everybody up the wrong way.
Yeah.
But they kind of forgive him because he has the voice of God.
Yes. I always feel like his singing is absolutely amazing, but his facial expressions throw me off.
He is so into it. And his facial expressions just tell you how much he is behind that song. He's lost himself into the music, which is amazing. And, you know, I was shocked when I found out that actor was 16 years old when he played this role. And I'm just like, that is amazing.
Yeah.
Andrew Strong. And again, you know, no other film career outside of The Commitments.
Yeah.
Just like, wow, it seems like a waste of talent.
Well, I mean, he's always going to be remembered for that one role,
and still is,
you know, which I think is really good, because then you don't get typecast as that one role. You know, you don't try to hide it by doing other roles, and people go, "You failed in that. You should have stuck with that." You can always look back on it and say, "I was that motherfucking guy singing that song." And I found this towards the end of the film that "Try a Little Tenderness" is one of possibly, I might be wrong, argue with me if you want to, but I think it's one of the most iconic scenes in cinema. Because, you know, I've read a lot of top 100 movies that you should watch before you die, and The Commitments is in that list. But like we said, when you've got all the band up on stage and they're all dressed in black and they're playing to a small crowd in this tiny little venue, and he's giving it fucking welly. You love it. You absolutely love it. And that comes down to the director as well, his eye.
Well, that's it. This whole film is a feel-good film because, you know, you see these band members living in poverty. Like one of the lead singers, she can't turn up to rehearsals anymore.
Yeah.
And so Jimmy goes around to find out where the hell she is. She's missed so many. And he finds her kind of babysitting and feeding an infant and looking after the mother and the brother.
Yeah.
And she's just like, look, I don't have time in my life to be in this band, but you can't drop me. I will make the time. I need this. If I don't have it, I don't have anything.
Yes.
And so it's about those hopes and aspirations. And Jimmy's kind of understanding because he is in the muck with them all.
Yeah.
And he needs to elevate himself, but he needs them to cohesively work together in order to do that. And so he gives her some time. And I really like that. Like I said, the whole film is a feel-good film, despite all of the poverty that you're surrounded by. You get reminders of it when the camera goes back outside and you just see children with slingshots just destroying windows and breaking glass.
But you know what the weird thing is that I think that's why I liked it so much when I was a kid. When you see those gritty urban scenes of the kids all running around burning stuff and just playing among pipes, and, you know, everybody knows each other in those little communities. At that time, before obviously population boomed, you know, everybody knew each other. You knew Margaret down the road, and you could go down there for a cup of tea, and all the kids could play in the streets, you know, and stuff like that. I could relate to that because that was kind of the upbringing I had. You know, you didn't have the most expensive toys. You had a stick, and if you were lucky, a stone. You know, but that stick and stone was going to last you fucking 3 hours because you ain't going home because mum's going to kick your fucking ass. You know, and seeing... And I suppose that's another thing as well. The language in this film.
Hey, Ginger! Shut the fuck up, will ya?
I'm a big swearer.
I was going to say, I think the film's nearly 2 hours long, and I think they used the word fuck 169 times.
Yeah.
And I was like, Iain could probably top that.
I could. But the thing is, it's that, you know, a lot of people say, well, you know, vulgar language is not, you're not supposed to use it. You know, it's over the top. You should be able to express yourself.
But it comes across. I mean, I wasn't even really aware of how many times it was used until I saw the statistic, and I was like, that statistic is kind of irrelevant because all of the dialogue in this film felt extremely natural.
Yes.
Like conversations you would have with normal people. That they do use the word fuck all the time.
Yeah, especially in those little urban development areas. Yeah. You know, to them, fuck is a way of saying hello or goodbye. You know, sometimes it's not about hurting the person when you're saying it. It's about elevating them up because you're like, you're fucking awesome, you know, or you're a fucking piece of shit. It swings around, but I love that gritty, raw, you know, kind of dialogue in the film because when they're not swearing, they're really quite being sincere. You know? But then when they explodes and they start being aggressive, they don't even have to raise their fist because it comes across in the wording.
Joey's not married, so fair fucks to him.
You're all so fucking stupid. Can't you see that Natalie got off with him?
Then she's a slut.
Fuck you, you fat fucker.
Jimmy, you know, obviously has to go around. He's got to get all the equipment. He's got to get the band practicing. I love the sequence where he went into the warehouse and he had to talk to the guy about getting him some equipment. And the guy's just like, I'm coming for your money. You know, and you're just like, I wanted to feel it was dark. Like I said, it was a dark element. But when Jimmy ended with the joke saying, my mum wants one of those teas made for the side of her bed, I was just like, oh God, you just brightened it up for me again. But they start properly practicing, and they're getting themselves together, and it's really working. You know, when the band works together, they really, really work. Obviously, like we said, you've got the conflictions. You got Deco being all over the place, especially in front of the backup singers. You know, he's blowing fuses. I mean, he fucking... The mic stand into the guitar fucking almost kills the guitarist. What the fuck, Deco?
Show me a woman that's got a good man. Show me a woman that's
So, despite all of the sort of secret affairs and the arguments, the band has, after their first performance, the crowd are really warmed up to them.
Yes.
Despite the fact that it was cancelled early, everyone on the streets are asking, when's their next performance? When's the next show? And due to continuing conflicts, the drummer has had enough and gets in his van and says, I'm off, I'm out.
It's no use, Jimmy, lending violence. I'm gonna have to hit him. And I'm on probation, you know.
Probation?
Yeah,
What for?
for hitting a prick just like him.
And they decide that they're going to hire their bouncer. Dave Finnegan plays Mika Wallace. Now, when you see this bouncer turn up, I mean, I thought he was a bit over the top. You know, they got him manning the door and he's just grabbing people. Don't you fuck around and do this and do that, you know. And you're just thinking, oh, God, he's a bit of an over-the-top character.
I thought it was going to be another Begbie from Trainspotting.
That's it, because he comes across so aggressive. And then you see him practicing on the drums and he's just fucking whacking them. And it's just the way he's just like, I think I'm getting the hang of this. And you're like, nah, he can't be. He can't. He's a bit raw, isn't he? A bit over the top. But then when you see him on stage with them playing, you're like, wow, that's, like we said, it's another sign of hope that somebody's given this guy who's probably got no prospects, gets into trouble with the police all the time and is always fighting, give him a couple of drumsticks and just let him release all that energy on the drums and keep with the beat. And it really, really works. Like we said, it's so gritty and raw that they have to travel to their next gig. But they have to... Did they steal or borrow a Mr. Chippy chip van?
Wasn't she working in one at the very beginning? Yeah. So I don't know whether they borrowed it. I think they stole it.
I'm pretty sure they stole it because nobody uses a crowbar to open a door.
Fart. What? I have to fart.
One other thing I got to bring up as well before we get to the end is Jimmy's interviews. I think it's just such a brilliant piece of acting from the main actor that he can just sit like that sequence where you see him having a bath and he's talking. I think he's talking to Terry Wogan, and they're talking about the success of the commitments. And his dad bangs on the door. What are you doing in there? I'm doing my interviews. You know, and you keep seeing him getting interrupted by people while he's doing it. And it's just this inner monologue that you can hear. And that just brings you a bit closer to Jimmy's character. That, like I said, he wants to be successful and do well.
But, yeah, it's not actually materialising, but you can just see his aspirations in all of these disturbing monologues, these two-way conversations he's having with himself when he's reached his, you know, the plateau that he's aiming for.
Yeah.
Sex, Jimmy? Sex, Terry. Sex? Fuck off. I'm being interviewed.
And Jimmy finally sets up this one big gig for them and convinces Jimmy the Lips to talk to a famous musician who's happened to be in Ireland at the time to come and play with them. Now, like Gary said, you've been skeptical about Joey all the way through the film, you know, and he's a bit suspicious when him and Jimmy are stood outside the fancy restaurant about them going in and talking and things like that, and you're thinking, is he really going to convince this guy to play? Because I don't. It's not like I don't trust Joey. He seems like a really nice guy. It's just he seems shady. Yeah, it just you're not entirely sure if he's honest. But they finally get this last gig and they're playing out to this packed out crowd. And Jimmy has got these reporters coming. You know, this is going to be the big break for the Commitments. And with this famous musician coming, you know, it should all explode for them overnight. But the musician doesn't turn up. And the cracks are really opening now into crevices. You know, the drummer, Mika, and Deco are fucking fighting it out in the fucking alleyway. The girls have had enough of Joey's fucking playing them off against each other, so they're all fighting. The guys are all fighting because they're sick and tired of Joey getting all the fucking pussy and them not getting anything. And finally, Jimmy's just like, you know what? Fuck you all.
Yeah, then he just ends it right there. He's just like, fuck the Commitments, it's over. It's not going to happen. And he walks off. And And he bumps back into Joey again. And he's just like, we're nothing.
Yeah.
You promised me that he would be here, and he's not. You're so full of shit. And it actually leads into one of my favourite moments in the film, where Joey just says to him, yeah, you could have sold records and been at the number 1 on the charts, but that's predictable.
Yes, I love that line.
This way, it's poetry.
Sure, we could have been famous and made albums and stuff, but that would have been predictable. This way, it's poetry.
It's a pisser's what it is, Joey.
Yeah.
I was just like, it's so profound.
You gave them hope. Yeah.
You gave them hope. You gave them all something to live for. They've all elevated themselves as a result of this experience of the commitments. And, the film goes into its endings, and it just shows you where each one of the band members has ended up, whether they're performing on street corners, whether they formed another band, or whether they've moved away from music entirely. But they've all evolved and changed.
Yeah.
And I was just like, it's a bad, really good, sweet ending.
Yes. Did he get with Natalie at the end?
He did, who Jimmy did.
Yeah, Jimmy did, because I remember him and Natalie, all the girls were wanting to get with Jimmy, and it was such brilliant acting from Jimmy to just hold them all at arm's length and go, we're professionals, sex will destroy this stuff. And obviously it does with the whole Joey situation. But it's the way that she says to him, if you weren't the manager, would you take me home? And he's like, yes, but I am. And then I was making notes at the end, and I didn't catch the bit if he said if he actually was with her or not. But just after Joey has left Jimmy next to the docks, the famous musician drives past.
And you see this limo.
In the limo.
Yeah.
And you're just like, fuck. Shit.
It's still 2 hours too late.
Yeah.
But it does then go, so I guess Joey was telling the truth the whole time?
Yeah. Was he?
Should we go back to the hotel then, Mr. Pickett? Okay.
I've got some great favourite scenes for this film. I love the whole intro of the different band members coming to Jimmy's house and him asking them who their influences are and then just listing them off, and then the montage of just him slamming the door in people's faces, them all lining the stairs of the house, going up, Cole Meany going to the toilet, and you've got this guy singing, and him just turning him and saying, that's fucking blasphemy, Elvis wasn't a Cajun. But my most favourite bit, I was in fucking stitches with this, was when Jimmy opens the door to that guy, and Jimmy says, well, who are your influences? And the guy says, oh, I'm not here for that. I just saw everybody lining up, so I thought they were here to buy drugs. I have loads of favourite scenes. I mean, the whole film is absolutely brilliant, but just mainly a lot of the comedy jokes, like Deco farting in the Mr. Chippy van, and them opening up the side hatch, and then the old man and old woman coming up asking for chips, and all they have is soul.
Yeah, one of the first lines of dialogue in the film that just made me crack up was when these kids run past an old man, and he just leans forward and just says, "Oh, fuck off!"
Yeah.
Fuck off.
I love the Melder climbing down the ladder sequence. I'm a man. What do I expect? I love all the live performances. Just them performing, even when they're just practicing. Every time I hear Mustang Sally now, it always takes me back to the Commitments.
For sure, yeah. Like you said, there's so many memorable scenes to pick out. There are so many great montages in the film.
Yes,
where you just see the band, evolving with each other, learning their instruments. There's a great moment where Joey's training the other musician how to get the notes right, and he tells him that the way to imagine it is that when you're putting it in your mouth, you got to imagine that it's a woman's nipple.
Yes.
And so he's like, And so he thinks of Kim Basinger.
Yeah, because he has to aspire for a woman that he'll never get.
Yes. And then the music just flows.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love the conversation between Jimmy and his dad, where his dad's just like, Elvis is a god.
Elvis is not so.
Elvis is God.
I never pictured God with a fat gut and a corset singing My Way at Caesar's Palace.
Jesus.
Yeah, love all the Elvis bits. The "Oi Ginger, shut the fuck up." Yeah, we're just You know, it's one of those spit your coffee out laugh moments.
You're going to bring that up a lot, aren't you?
Hey, Ginger! Shut the fuck up, will ya?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, the ending, the final conversation between Jimmy and Joey, really, really good.
Yeah.
I have to recommend The Commitments, you know. I didn't have that many expectations going into the film. As soon as the film started, I was just like, this film felt like a documentary about a band that never existed.
It does, yeah, yeah.
But the thing is, I can probably imagine that a lot of bands of the time maybe went through similar scenarios to The Commitments.
Yes.
That there are character types like them. And it really mirrored life so well with the natural dialogue, with the raw and gritty, realistic setting. You know, they captured the soul of the music. They captured the soul of Dublin. And this film is going to continue to live on.
Yes.
With the fact that it does still do so in stage adaptations. The actors for this film have reunited several times and gone on tours as The Commitments and played these songs.
Nice.
And they will and they continue to do so. And that just tells you how timeless, how classic, and that this film is. The fact that it has survived this long and we're still talking about it now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm glad I've discovered this film after all this time, and you should check it out. It's a feel-good film, lots of music that you recognise, great performances, Alan Parker at his best.
Yeah.
Totally recommend The Commitments.
I definitely recommend The Commitments. Like I said, I watched this as a kid and thought it was fucking brilliant, and fucking 30 odd years later, I still think it's fucking brilliant. Like we said, Alan Parker, just his eye, his editing, the music, getting the actors together, just everything works. Maybe it's just him. He's just really fucking good at this job. You know, I don't know. But the fact that I could stand here 5 years after arguing with this man that he had to see The Commitments, and him fucking standing there so stubbornly that he would never, ever, ever watch it, and then watch it and go, that's really good, just proves I'm right. So, you know,
Push the button.
Hey, Ginger! Shut the fuck up, will ya?
Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
Fucking blasphemy. Elvis wasn't a Cajun.